Well, hello, my lovelies. It's Murky Meg.
It's Friday, the 3rd of December, and following on from yesterday's video, I'm going to be discussing today the fallout, the outcome, and the general feeling of what the summary judgment upholding the win for Meghan against the Mail on Sunday and Associated Newspapers means, and effectively what really went down and the nitty-gritty of it all. But I will say that following on from yesterday, there's one thing that I heard that breaks this all down, and everybody, including me, that has got their head in their hands and saying, how can this be the case? She lied. Effectively, what this came down to was Meghan Markle's privacy invaded by the Mail on Sunday publicising half of Thomas Markle's letter he received from Meghan. And ultimately, invasion of privacy trumps everything. It trumps lies, it trumps forgetfulness, it trumps changed witness statements. That's what it boils down to. The 3 judges in the appeal agreed with the original judge last year that basically said that by printing half of the letter, the Mail on Sunday invaded privacy of Meghan Markle. But a lot of people are now saying this is a very worrying precedent for the rich and powerful because it's given free rein over silencing freedom of press. They weren't interested in the fact that Meghan Markle herself expected the letter to be leaked. They didn't really take into consideration that she could have quite easily hopped on a plane to actually see her father. Instead, she wrote a meticulously drafted letter with public consumption in mind to her father, knowing full well that this could very well be leaked. When it wasn't leaked, she then, allegedly, instructed her 5 friends to speak to People magazine, painting the letter from a loving daughter. And that's in itself what angered Thomas Markle to then let the Mail on Sunday publish the letter, because in his words, they weren't from a loving daughter. And in the appeal, we got to see just how meticulously written that letter was. And lots of evidence was given by Jason Naff to say that the wording was specifically edited and put down to pull at the heartstrings of the public should the letter be released and leaked. Regardless of whether Meghan expected this letter to be leaked, the fact that it was leaked and the Mail on Sunday broke the invasion of privacy of Meghan was ultimately what it boiled down to, irrelevant of all the other wrongdoings that have transpired from this appeal. Now, the Mail on Sunday have suggested that they are considering taking this to the Supreme Court and fighting on, so the fight might not be over, but if they don't do that, it is over. If you've not seen it already, I've posted it on my Instagram story. Piers Morgan wrote a damning piece in the Daily Mail. As always, he never holds back, and the title was "Put Your Gloating Champagne Away, Princess Pinocchio. The Court of Public Opinion now knows you're a fork-tongued, devious, manipulative piece of work who only wants to protect your privacy so you can sell it." He himself talks in this article something that I mentioned in yesterday's video, which was the fact that the Mail on Sunday published only half of the letter, and if they had printed, say, 10%, it would have been a very different story. He starts off with a very interesting quote by Mark Twain, which is, "If you tell the truth, you don't have to remember anything." And that is the crux of it, isn't it? Honestly, I'm so flabbergasted that this doesn't get to go to trial. And a lot of articles I'm reading this morning are saying exactly the same thing. How can a summary judgment be granted and then just literally shut down? There's so much evidence to suggest that she broke her own privacy in numerous other ways. Not this particular example of the letter, but in other examples, like the People magazine and Finding Freedom, and also members of Sussex royal staff helping the authors in fact-finding. How is that not invading your own privacy? And I think if they were to go to trial, then it would blow open the fact that she doesn't want privacy. She just wants positive headlines and she wants to be avoid of criticism. What's really bizarre is literally minutes after the ruling was announced, she released a statement, not on Archewell, not on the office of the Duke and Duchess of Sussex, which we've previously seen in letters, but using an entirely different monogram that we've never seen before. Now, this is really weird for me because we've seen various letters from them, from Archwell, which obviously I get the difference between Archwell and their own office of the Duke and Duchess of Sussex, because obviously one is personal, one is a charity, or debatable. But this wasn't even using that monogram of the M and the H combined. It was just an M with a crown. Excuse me? What on earth is this? If you have a look at the previous one, it's the M and the H combined. You can see it. It's the M and the H with a crown. So why is she sending it just from an M with a monogram and a crown? Now, can you remember when she wrote to Congress, she used the office of the Duke and Duchess of Sussex. But now she's using the monogram, but a different monogram that's not Harry and Meghan, just the M. I know it's just a little technicality, but to me, it's just trying to boost how important she thinks she is again. Why not use the stationery of the office of the Duke and Duchess of Sussex? Why use the stationery, but then also use it in gold? And only using an M, not the combined two of the H and the M. Again, it just doesn't make sense. You know, this is a family that she absolutely slated on Oprah, yet she's still using the gifts that was bestowed to her, quite regally and egotistically boasting about it. Now, yesterday I suggested the possibility of the royal family having intervened and said, no, this can't go to trial, which is it's a possibility. But then you also have to consider did that have any sway, her title, who she is, who she represents, did that have any sway on the 3 appeal court judges who said that in her forgetting that she cooperated with the authors of Finding Freedom, there might have been an unfortunate lapse of memory? Right, okay, it's a bit of a bigger bit than a lapse of memory, isn't it? She lied. And a lot of people are questioning her credibility. And I said this in yesterday's video as well. If she had been proven, and she had been proven to have misled the court, then wouldn't a judge want her to be tested under cross-examination to test the validity of what she is saying? In the interests of justice, wouldn't you, as a judge, want documents to be exchanged and witnesses to be permitted to tell their side of the story on both the defendant's and the prosecution's side? And again, this has not been allowed to happen. Has justice really been served? And there's a lot of chatter saying that if she really wanted to fight for the truth, which she said so in her statement, wouldn't she want it to go to court and actually fight her own corner? The Mail did a very good piece today which identifies 10 questions that should have been heard in court, or should have been allowed to have been heard in court, but by the 3 judges ruling that the summary judgment stands, we will never ever get to know this unless they take it to Supreme Court and win. So the first is, did Meghan brief a friend who spoke to People magazine about the contents of her letter to Thomas Markle? The extract summarised to the magazine read, "Dad, I'm so heartbroken. I love you. I have one father. Please stop victimising me through the media so we can repair our relationship." The friend also suggested in the magazine that Mr. Markle had cold-shouldered Meghan before her wedding and lied about his daughter shutting him out of her life. They didn't get to ask that question. It's been shut down. Following on from that, the Mail suggests that question number 2 is, did that friend also brief the authors of the biography Finding Freedom to the same effect? They also said they wanted to ask, how was the People interview set up? Did Meghan know about it, and did she authorise it? By asking these questions, they would try and identify whether Meghan Markle had an active interest and participated in the sway and the contents of the People magazine, ultimately invading her own privacy. Question number 4 is, during legal proceedings, Meghan said that she authorised somebody to speak to the authors of Finding Freedom and tell them about the letter to her father asking him to stop speaking to the media. Who was that person? What did Meghan tell them? And what exactly did that person then tell the authors? Question number 5 is what other information was provided to the authors of Finding Freedom about Meghan's relationship with her father? Number 6 is Jason Knaff, Meghan and Harry's former communications chief, stopped working for the couple in March 2019. In a witness statement, he says that he is not aware whether cooperation with the authors of Finding Freedom continued after he departed. Did it? And if so, what happened? Again, yes, he only had this information up to March 2019. Did the feeding of the information continue from the Sussex side? Number 7 is former Sussex advisor Samantha Cohen, Deputy Communications Director Christian Jones, and PR guru Sarah Latham confirmed via lawyers last month that one or more of them had evidence about the writing of the letter to Thomas Markle and whether Meghan anticipated it might come into the public domain. What would their evidence have been at trial? We didn't even get to hear from these 3 others. They were known collectively with Jason Knaff as the Palace Four. Question number 8 is who are the senior royals who spoke to Meghan about how to handle the issue of her father speaking to the press? Again, we will never get to know. Number 9 is critically, why did Meghan not go and see her father as allegedly advised by the royals? Such a move could have avoided the need for a letter to be sent. Now, I said that earlier on. Why did a letter need to be sent? She could have quite easily, under the cover of darkness, hopped on a plane and go to see him. Did she not go and see him and wrote the letter because she knew that ultimately it was going to be put in the public domain? And finally, why did Meghan not complain to People magazine about this account of her letter to her father, which she later accepted was inaccurate? Why did she not make a public statement to correct these matters? It's very interesting, that one, isn't it? Because Harry and Meghan have been very outspoken about misinformation. People magazine got it wrong, but again, she didn't complain. They referred to the letter. They spoke about the letter in detail, or her friends did. Yeah, that was absolutely fine. I believe that this was a setup, and I think a lot of you do too. Thomas Markle had sat on this letter for 6 months, and it was only until People magazine published that article did he then speak out. Now, quite a few people who know the law have spoken out about what happened yesterday. Now, Matthew Dander, a partner at law firm Wiggin, said that the judgment raised very concerning consequences for freedom of expression. He said, by preventing key evidence being heard regarding the preparation of the Duchess's letter and its intended audience, the Court of Appeal has presumptively elevated the Duchess's privacy rights over matters of public interest and freedom of expression. He continues that the decision heightens concerns that privacy law permits public figures selectively to determine what can be reported about them and manipulate the media narrative. Now, where have we heard that before? He also says that it also sets a dangerous precedent that anyone arguing against that status quo may not even be entitled properly to test their claimant's evidence in court. A media law expert called Mark Stevens said the court appeared to have shifted the boundaries as to what is a reasonable expectation of privacy. He said, their ruling suggests it doesn't matter whether she intends or doesn't to put information in the public domain. She has a right to privacy irrespectively. Essentially, that leads us to a point where the rich and powerful are able to have their PR firms put forward a primed and premed image where it is incredibly difficult for news organisations to put forward an unvarnished alternative narrative. He said that there is good and solid argument that the Mail on Sunday had a right to at least have a trial, to have disclosure, to cross-examine witnesses, and also for Meghan to do the same and test the evidence. She's now had the right to portray herself in this way without a trial. Now, the former editor of the Sun newspaper, David Yellen, described Meghan's attack on the press as extraordinary. There will be powerful people who have looked at this judgment and will be delighted. Remarkably, this case was even discussed in the House of Commons yesterday, in our own government. Jacob Rees-Mogg, who is the leader of the House of Commons, was asked if he would congratulate the Duchess, to which Jacob Rees-Mogg replied, it's concerning that the rich and powerful can use the court to protect their private life when others can't. I would be deeply concerned about anything that undermines freedom of speech. And another MP spoke up. The former Culture Secretary, John Whittingdale, said that the courts are interpreting the law to extend the right to privacy without Parliament properly considering what should happen is a matter of great concern. This has been a concern for a long time. It actually beggars belief, and I am still stunned. And I am going to finish today's video with my final thoughts on what I think has happened. Now, yesterday I alluded to the fact that I think the royal family stepped in, and I'm going to make it a little bit more clearer, because I think some of you were kind of saying, well, why would the Queen or the royal family want to stop this? Why do you think they would give the okay for Jason Naff to speak out, but then stop it in its tracks before it goes to trial? There's a simple answer to this. By giving the nod to Jason Naff to release details that she lied, the public now knows that she lied. That the public will now ask and query her character and her credibility. But allowing it not to go to trial then stops it all being put out there. Everybody's sordid little secrets and who talks to who does what. Because you can bet your bottom dollar there is an element of people in the palace talking to press. On both sides of the Sussexes and the royal family, they all do it. And if that was to go to court, everybody's skeletons would be laid bare. But by stopping it now, the royal family have basically said, the world knows she's a liar, she's manipulative, and she's controlling. But hey, let's stop it there. And that's what I firmly believe has happened. I've rabbited on for quite a long time. Okay, so this is obviously longer than any of my normal videos, so I would love to know your thoughts on all of this. Are you still reeling from what happened? Have I made it a little bit more clearer about the implications? Do you think it's fair? Do you think this should have gone to trial? Do you think the royal family did step in? Why has it not gone to trial? Do you think the foundations of freedom of speech is now on a very rocky path? That the rich and powerful have free rein to shut down their critics? For me, and somebody who does the job that I do, that's a very worrying precedent indeed. As always, I would love to know your thoughts. Thank you very much for watching. If you haven't already, please subscribe to my YouTube channel, hit the notification bell, and also that like button. I'd like to take this opportunity to thank all of my followers for all the tips and all the emails, DMs that everybody sends to me. It really is greatly appreciated. So thank you very much for watching once again.